Ladies and gentlemen, gamers, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is all about Umber Wasp, the new update releasing today. I'm going to read through these patch notes. By the time you guys see this video, the update will be out on Steam. So very excited to see what's in store, but let's go ahead and take it from the top. The Umber Wasp update is focused on continued gameplay improvements and polish to pathfinding and pings. This update also brings several quality of life improvements, such as smaller icon size on the tactical map and a better flow for endgame stats. The balance changes will impact all factions, with some focus on the Deutsche Afrika Korps. Additionally, this update delivers a newsfeed for players to access patch notes and news directly from the game's main menu. We are also introducing one new 4v4 map, Wetlands, and a reworked 1v1 map, Pacino Stalemate. Be sure to review all the changes and fixes below, or check out the mission briefing for an overview. So you can go ahead and click on that mission briefing if you want. But let's see what the new content entails. So we got new content, features, and improvements, the new map. I covered this 4v4 map and the developer live stream. It looks really good. It's, as they say here, it's broken up into 3 different sections. The ancient walled city to the north, the wetlands and causeway, which is in the center, and then the desert village to the south, which looked really cool from what I saw. So of course, I haven't played this yet, but I have a feeling this is going to be a really good 4v4 map. The reworked map, Pacino Stalemate 1v1. So a redesign of the existing 1v1 map for all game modes, including considerable changes to territory and accessibility. Large rock formations have been removed map-wide, enabling better mid to late game pathfinding, which should open up the map as large vehicles hit the field. Okay. Updated cover around central resource points. Updated map textures to improve visibility around key areas. Updated atmosphere. Okay, so it should look better, I'm assuming. Match stats. Quitting a match will no longer exit the match stats screen. That's nice. If a player gets disconnected from a match, they will now still be able to view the match stats. So if a player gets disconnected from a match, well, can they reconnect? I wonder if we can get a reconnect ability or option. Okay, gameplay improvements and balance. Pathfinding. Adjusted vehicle pathfinding to take more direct paths to the requested location. Okay, infantry will now do less pathfinding adjustments. Infantry will no longer prefer to take paths with denser cover distribution. We covered all this in the developer live stream. Infantry will now be able to path through allied infantry and team weapons. Okay, retreating infantry will no longer get stuck. Team weapons will no longer be able to block choke points for allied units. Units executing attack orders will more consistently approach their target in a straight line. Vehicles doing a move order at longer distance will now follow a straight path. Vehicles will no longer be allowed to stop while phasing. Okay, so from what I can tell, all really good changes. They're just going to improve their overall gameplay responsiveness, allow you to be able to execute a retreat better or maneuver better with your vehicles, whether you're trying to counter an enemy tank or you're trying to move up and traverse, right, through smaller obstacles and so forth. So overall, I think it's good. Pings, guys, we cover this in the live stream as well. Pings are going to have a new icon on screen. It's like a colorful beam that comes down. And there'll also be the icon of the ping on the minimap, so you can quickly move towards that ping, double click it on the minimap or click on the minimap. You could just jump straight there. And I think it's very intuitive. But there's a cooldown, so people can't just spam it, which is good. Map updates here. Quite a few. HQ sector bunker positioning has been adjusted. Okay, to prevent bunkers from unintentionally covering resource points. Oh yeah, I did notice this quite a bit. Many heavy crushed rock piles have been removed across Africa maps, including but not limited to Road to Tunis and Gazala landing ground. Okay, heavy crushed rock piles have been replaced in many cases, which still provide heavy cover, but are less resilient to damage and are medium crush. Okay, so Toronto coastline, some 1v1 changes, Twin Beaches. You guys can check out all these map changes. Campbell's Convoy. So for team games, I'm a little bit more interested. Readjusted cover placement along the central resource points, particularly around the most contested resources. Interesting. Catania Crossing, that's an AI map. You guys can go ahead and check that out. Magnano Summit. This is a tough map. Updated territory layout, reducing the number of high resource points and spreading their value more evenly. That's a good change. This should reduce the chances of games ending too soon from dominating central areas. Yeah, good change. But I hope there are more changes for this map because it's just not very well designed in my opinion. Monte Cavo updated the camera mesh to make it here closer to terrain. Yeah, I noticed this a lot. Updated atmosphere to transition into dawn after 30 minutes of gameplay. I love this change. I love this. It's a small, subtle experience like that you get to have as the map and the game progresses. To be able to transition from night to dawn, I think that's really cool. It really adds to the overall experience. So, okay, Winterline updated cover placement around the central bunker complex. Yeah, that area does get a little bit janky, in my opinion. It's a little bit hard to maneuver, and there's not the most incentive to really like control that territory. Replace a number of trenches with improving the pathfinding of tanks in these areas. Okay. Tactical map, scaled down unit decorators. They now act as position icon. Fantastic. Remove the unit position icon circle. Fantastic. I love this change. For tactical map users, this is going to be really, really big because especially in team games, it's very difficult to pull up your tactical map and properly maneuver your units because there are so many units on screen and the icons were just too large to maneuver. So I really, really like this. It's going to help a lot. New cosmetics. 8 new cosmetics will be released in October, with 4 releasing in each of the first 2 weeks. Nice. That's cool. We haven't had cosmetics in a while. It's whatever. If you've been saving up merit, you can go ahead and get that. If you're saving up merit, maybe you can buy the expansion in the future. I don't know. I'm not sure if the expansion will just be gold based, or fiat currency based, or if it will have the option to purchase with merit. So if you guys are saving that merit, it's not a terrible gamble. There's a chance. Okay, British forces, U.S. forces, Wehrmacht, and DAC changes. There's going to be some new cosmetics for that. Okay, general balance changes. This is the good stuff. This is what I really want to find out. Okay, so accuracy changes. We have standardized accuracy across the board for various tank guns. We have noted that our tank guns were too accurate at maximum range. This resulted in situations where vehicles chasing at maximum range would often land their shots while on the move, more than intended, especially after the fix to projectiles that made it easier for scatter hits to avoid low obstacles. Okay, so there's once again, I think we're going to see this a lot, standardizing things across the board. I think they're going to do that for a lot of things over time, and you're already starting to see this quite a bit. I don't know how much I think it's really good for just overall balance. As long as they still keep the complexity of the factions and the interactions, I think it's okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and see the specific changes to accuracy. 76mm half-track and 221 accuracy set, okay. Anti-armor vehicle accuracy set. Crusader 2 and 3 accuracy set to 0.1, okay. General medium, heavy, and light tank accuracy set. Hellcat, Martyr 3 and variance accuracy set. Sherman 76mm accuracy set, okay. So I'm wondering if the Crusader 2 and 3 are going to be a lot less accurate. That would make sense. All right, anti-air. We have made significant changes to the balance of anti-air and airstrike abilities. In general, anti-air units will be significantly more effective at stopping airstrikes within their vicinity. Furthermore, anti-air can now engage planes beyond the protected border regions of the map, giving anti-air more time to respond. Most mobile anti-air units have been standardized to output similar damage to aircraft. The following units have been changed. CWT AA truck, the Crusader AA, so those are both for British. The M16 quad, the Flak Panzer IV Whirlwind, the Flak 30, and the Flak Verlaying half-track, okay? Airstrike abilities have also been separated into general class of durability. The list below goes from least durable to most durable. So least durable would be the strafing runs, which makes sense. So these will be the easiest to shoot down. I don't know how much AA. I think they mentioned 1 AA will allow you to potentially shoot one down, depending on the strafe, I'm assuming, or the damage of your AA. But I'm assuming 2 AA would shoot a strafing run down relatively easily. Not positive, but that's an assumption. Okay, close-in dive bombs being the second least durable. Okay, loiters, reconnaissance versions of strafing, dive bombs, and loiters. So those are going to be where planes are circulating more often, right? Being up in the air longer. heavy bomber runs being the most expensive and the most durable, which makes sense. I think that's fair. In 1v1s, I don't think this is going to have like an absolutely massive impact. In team games, I have a feeling it will. I don't know if there's going to be a cap. Maybe there isn't a cap on AA, but in team games, I feel like this is going to play a big impact because 4 players or 3 players on a team can easily muster up enough AA together to be able to shoot down these more robust planes like the bombing planes and the loiters. So, very interesting. Oh, here we go. We got a little bit more of a breakdown. A single anti-air unit will be able to deny nearby strafes. Okay, like we said, but multiple anti-air units are required to deny higher durability abilities. All right. 2 AA units will generally be able to lock down an area, while 3 will deny all but the heavy bomber runners. Okay. So you're gonna need more than 3 to deny the heavy bombing run. So 4 to 5, I'm assuming. But 3 really isn't that much for team games. You're going to be able to do that relatively easily. So guys, expect a lot more AA in this patch. They go on to say, keep in mind this will have minor differences by map, direction of the airstrike, and when the anti-air unit faces its target. Okay. These relations only matter when the anti-air is covering a specific area. While an anti-air can cover a significant area, they have been tuned that additional anti-air units are required to cover the larger for... Oh, interesting. So this was an idea that I had that I thought was really interesting, to limit the actual AA coverage to specific places so that you weren't able to keep them like in your base and then knock out AA anywhere around the map, right? It should be area specific. So honestly, I love this change. I think this is a great change. That way, even if you're stacking a lot of AA, hopefully we'll see as we play, even if you're stacking a lot of AA, it's position dependent. It's dependent on the specific area that it's located. So I have to see how drastic of an impact this will have. It depends, once again, how they adjusted it and balanced it. But we'll see. This is something we'll keep an eye on and rebalance in the future as necessary. And this is really important, guys. These changes may seem drastic, or Relic may, take 2 steps forward in balance, but 1 step back by making a mistake. The key is to remember over the next couple years, they're trying things. They're gathering data and collecting data. And if they make a mistake in one area, they can go back and revert it. So it's not the end all be all. Now, in terms of balance, I'm a much bigger fan of buffing units so that units become stronger rather than nerfing units that are too strong, right? And then making them obsolete where they're no longer used. So I think it's better to elevate units not being used to a higher standard rather than lower other units to a low standard too drastically, if that makes sense. Okay, so this is something we'll keep an eye on, all right? But the intended goal is that airstrikes should be counterable even in smaller game modes such as 1v1, but not become the point irrelevant in large game modes where players can more easily specialize into airstrikes and anti-air. Fantastic. I love that Relic is considering both 1v1 and 4v4. Very hard thing to balance. Very hard thing is to balance between 2. It's almost impossible in my opinion, but they're going to get as close as they possibly can. Okay, loiters are currently bugged and are able to be shot down easier than intended. We hope to address this in a future patch. Oh, that's not good news. Keep that in mind. Loiters are currently bugged. Mortars, Wehrmacht, DAC, British Forces Light Mortars, HE barrage cooldown reduced from 0.75 to 0. HE barrage reload rate standardized into US Forces mortar. Okay. Veterancy adjustments. AT gun veterancy requirements reduced from 1,300, 3,900, 7,800 to 1,000, 3,000, 6,000. Oh, wow. Very interesting. So AT guns are going to vet much faster. Wow. That's going to make a big impact for scalability. Panzer plows and row engineers veterancy requirements reduced. Okay. So minor reductions here, but still Panzer plows and engineers are going to be able to vet even quicker. Walking Stuka half track and Sherman Wednesday veterancy requirements reduced pretty considerably. 1,900, 5,800, 11,000 to 1,500, 4,500, 900. Is this a mistake? It's supposed to be 9,000. This is supposed to be 9,000. But Okay, yeah, I noticed that about the Stuka. I haven't used the Whizbang a ton, but it makes sense. I think that would be good. Sniper units, camouflage when leaving cover increased from 1 to 4 seconds. Oh, wow. That's a pretty considerable added time. Camouflage when leaving cover. Now 4 seconds. Wow. Yeah, 1 second was way too low. 4 is a lot. Sight range increased from 35 to 40, so that's also really important because snipers, they're just so easily counterable. Factions and ability balance changes. U.S. forces. Here we go. This is going to get interesting. USF continues to perform well. However, we have noted a number of overperforming units and abilities that made it difficult for the opposing player to counter or deal with. We are weakening certain abilities such as Pour It On Them. Okay, so that's how they're going to nerf Riflemen. The Sherman Easy 8 Colin, the M8 Scott White Phosphorus, and the offensive capabilities of the Air Support Center. All things I would expect. The Greyhound is super strong as well. So we're going to see what they're going to do to that. I could already see this is a massive text here. Okay, 4x4 truck frontal armor decreased from 5 to 4. Weapon burst reduced from 100% to 75%. So, frontal armor decreased from 5 to 4. So is this the same as the Dingo now? Not sure. Moving weapon burst reduced from 100% to 75%. So I think this is probably impactful for small arm fire. I don't know. We'll have to see. Assault engineers, veterancy requirement reduced from 900 to 750. Okay, so they should have added that up top. Bazooka team, manpower cost reduced from 250 to 240. Reinforcement costs increased from 22 to 24. Veterancy requirement reduced from 900 to 800. Okay, so bazooka teams are becoming cheaper. Initial manpower costs reduced from 250 to 240. Reinforcement costs increased. So honestly, reinforcement cost may not seem like the bulk of your economic expenditure, but the reinforcement cost is, I think, a big factor in actual manpower drain. So the initial cost is not always as important as you might think. The reinforcement cost is extremely important. So this is an interesting change. I don't think bazooka teams are very strong. But the fact that they can vet quicker, maybe that will help. Okay, engineer, veterancy requirement reduced. M3 armored personnel carrier, fortified position ability reduces ability recharge times for nearby units by 25%. All right. So M8 Greyhound armored car. Area of effect damage changed from 1 to 0.75. Area of effect model limit set from 0 to 2. Area of effect radius increased from 1.75 to 2. Max scatter reduced from 4 to 3. Scatter offset set reduced from 0.33 to 0. Okay, so pretty considerable nerf to the M8 Greyhound, which was very strong. I was using this thing for quite a while just because of its ability to counter infantry so well. And this scatter shot, I mean, it was so accurate. It was so effective. I think this is a considerable nerf to the Greyhound. M8 Scott White Phosphorus direct damage reduced from 80 to 10. This needed to happen. This thing was not only so effective mechanically, but it was just like very effective in terms of damage. So that's a good change. White Phosphorus barrage now has a cost of 20 and a cost of 25. So a considerable nerf. Chaffee light tank. APCR rounds munition cost reduced from 45 to 35. Rounds penetration bonus reduced from plus 100% to plus 50. Reload time increased from 3.5 to 4.25. Okay, so this is actually probably the most important change, the reload time increase. So 3.5 to 4 or 4 to 4.25, that's considerable because late game tanks, such as the Panzers, right, and the Tier 3 from the DAC and the Wehrmacht, they're going to be able to deal with Chaffies that have been around for a while, that are vetted. And if a Chaffee is vetted well in the mid game and it's engaging later game tanks, it can still do a considerable amount of damage and finish tanks off by flanking and so forth, just because the reload time is so quick. So that's really important to note. Chaffee no longer does additional damage against friendly units. Interesting. Okay, yeah. So Chaffee and Greyhound, the motor pool, both getting some big nerfs. And as you said, Shark just messaged me and said USF got hammered. USF probably got, if I had to guess, probably got the most nerfs. We're going to take a look at infantry now. Paratroopers, grenade area of effect distance increased. Matches the standard U.S. Forces frag grenade by riflemen. Okay, decent little change for them. Rifleman fire superiority now reduces the squad speed by 30% when active. Okay, that's a good nerf. I mean, it's a good size nerf for sure. M19 bar penetration reduced from 2.5 to 1.75. So that's impactful. The fire superiority is a good change. I'm happy they didn't nerf the rifleman even more. This is not a horrible nerf to the rifleman. I was hoping it would be something more like this instead of something drastic, because they really are the backbone of the USF. Okay, scout. Manpower cost reduced from 160 to 150. Utility package munition cost reduced from 30 to 25. Veterancy requirements reduced from 750 to 500. Okay, decent. Very minor change to the scout. Seek and destroy accuracy bonus increased from 25 to 35%. Capture bonus and received accuracy bonus while moving removed. Seek and destroy ability properly provide its benefits to vehicles you control for the full 40-second duration. Okay. Sherman, white phosphorus smoke no longer slows vehicles one hit. That's a good nerf. Sherman Easy 8. 76 penetration reduced from 300 to 200. Wow. Arrives with a Veterancy 1 engineer squad. Unit only becomes assault engineer if this assault engineer is unlocked. Wow. Command point requirement increased from 7 to 8. So it's going to come out even later. Cost increased from 600 and 100 fuel to 650 and 105 fuel. So I don't know if this was necessary for the Sherman Easy 8, this nerf. It's not a horrible nerf, but it is an additional nerf after a previous nerf. And I think, honestly, I don't think this was necessary. I don't think the Sherman Easy 8 was the problem. I really don't. But we'll see. I'm a little bit worried as I'm reading through the USF, because the USF it got their mid-game nerfed, but their late game is getting nerfed at the same time, which is odd to me. Generally, you don't necessarily want to see mid and late game nerf. There's one or the other. So I'm a little bit worried, especially if we get down to these support centers and those are nerfed as well. But we'll see. Okay, Sherman Whizbang. Precision rocket barrage renamed to long range barrage. And this long range barrage is now increased from 80 to 160. So double the range. Holy smokes, this thing is going to be insane. With the damage that the Whizbang can push, with an added 80 range, this is going to be insane. I think Spec Ops Battle Group for the USF is going to be the meta. It doesn't take a genius to figure that out, but just letting you guys know, Special Forces Operations Battle Group is going to be the way to go, unless I'm missing something here. Special Operations P-47 dual strafing run. Second plane now arrives 2 seconds later than the first plane. Okay, good change. You can retreat quicker. I think that's fine. Okay, Air Support Center. Ability reticules adjusted to be more representative of the area of effect. Okay, that's good. Air support or air supply costs increase from 130 fuel to 150 and 40 fuel. So you're gonna have to tech a little bit later. That's actually a big change. That's gonna delay the mid-game tech and mid-game vehicles even more, and those are nerfed. So you're seeing impact a nerf to the USF from the early game all the way throughout into the late game. Really interesting. P-47 dive bomb area of effect reduced from 10 to 7. P-47 strafe second plane now arrives 2 seconds slower. Infantry support center. Munitions surplus no longer grants an ability recharge bonus. Survival training now grants 25% faster recharge speed on infantry abilities. Okay. So that's fine. Mechanized support center. Chaffee rounds ability penetration reduced. Dang, another nerf. Munition cost reduced from 45 to 35. That's fine. Canister shot ability reworked to deal high damage against infantry in the open. Interesting. But it's less effective against units in cover. Makes sense. Deals 25 damage against units in garrison and heavy cover. 50% against light cover. Very interesting. Munition cost reduced from 45 to 25. Greyhound canister area of effect model limit increased from 3 to 4. Sherman canister area of effect model limit increased from 3 to 5. U.S. Airborne M19 upgrade time reduced from 50 to 30 seconds. Considerable little buff there. Okay, Wehrmacht. This should be interesting. Now, the USF got hit hard. If the Wehrmacht gets buffed a lot, it's problematic because I don't think the USF and the Wehrmacht were the problems necessarily. I think the Wehrmacht was in a really good spot. Relatively good spot, although their infantry needs improving. The major issue for the Wehrmacht is infantry needs. Their infantry needs to push damage, and they need to be more just sturdy. The earlier game infantry need to be able to scale better into the game. But okay, let's go ahead and look. While a potent faction, a number of Wehrmacht units were underperforming when they should be key components of their respective tiers' arsenal. We have made a number of changes to address units like the Whirlwind's cost and the Stummel's performance. Furthermore, the armor skirt upgrade has been reworked to offer a potent power spike for all Wehrmacht's core medium armored vehicles in the late game. Okay, so we'll figure out what that means. 20mm flak, build time reduced by 5 seconds, so now 40 seconds. Crew health increased from 80 to 90. Crew health, sorry. Penetration increased from 26 to 30. Veterancy requirements reduced from 1,300 to 1,000. So this thing is getting increased penetration, decreased time cost, increased health, veterancy. So this thing is going to be able to penetrate better, and allied mid-game vehicles are getting nerfed. So this flak gun is going to start being able to zone pretty well, I think, as an anti-tank. 251 stumble conversion, auto fire reload reduced from 5 to 4, barrage retime standardized to 20 seconds, barrage reload from 2.5 to 2, barrage shell count increased from 4 to 6, munitions upgrade cost reduced from 60 to 50. So these are all good buffs. The stumble was not well utilized and not that strong in my opinion, so this is totally fine to me. I'm happy to see the 251 get some love. Armored skirts, so let's see what they were talking about. Cost increased from 125 manpower and 25 fuel to 200 manpower and 45 fuel. So quite a, I mean, nearly double, right? Now provides plus 80 health to all affected vehicle. Side armor bonus removed. So they're removing the side armor, but they're just giving an extra 80 health. That's interesting. I don't know how I feel about that. Is that all affected vehicles? So of course that's not the Tiger, but that's still the Panther, right? So instead of side armor, they're just getting a plus 80 health. Interesting. I don't know. It's a weird change to me. Blitzkrieg, breakthrough battle group, reload bonus increased from 35 to 40%. Speed bonuses and received accuracy bonus reduced from 50% to 35%. Okay. That's good. Command Panzer IV, AP rounds penetration increased. Reload time decreased. Area of effect is changed. Angle scatter shot reduced from 12.5 to 7. HE round, area of effect damage changed. Area of effect radius increased. Effect mode limit increased. Round reload time reduced from 4.5 to 4. HE rounds now fired directly at targets. Movement scatter changed to match other tank guns. Okay, so Command Panzer getting quite a bit of changes. Flak Panzer IV Verbal Wind. I love this unit. Love to see it get some more changes. Cost reduced from 320 and 60 fuel to 350 fuel. That's a pretty big buff. I like that. Reload speed decreased from 3.75 to 1.8. So it did have a big reload speed, but that's considerable. Tactical advance replaced with white phosphorus rounds. That's way stronger, probably. White phosphorus rounds cause suppression and reduce vehicles' vision by 75% on hit for 5 seconds. Cost 30 munitions, last 30 seconds. So that you're not only going to be able to escape, but it's going to knock that other vehicle out for like 30 seconds. That's nuts. That's really good. I hope to see more of this unit. And it's AA. Wow. It's going to get more love for sure. Jaeger Light Infantry, capture and decapture bonus from recon package set to a flat 20% bonus. Okay. Recon package munition cost reduced from 60 to 50. Was this enough for Jaeger Light Infantry? Probably. Instead of the reconnaissance package munition cost being reduced, just 10 munitions. I feel like they should buff the G43 rifles. I believe they're using G43s. I feel like those rifles don't push as much damage as they should. I could be wrong on that. But I would expect to see this damage increased in the future. Okay, Kettenkrad. Communication cable and munition cost from 35 to 25. Whoa. That's another buff to the Kettenkrad. This thing is becoming the super crad. I don't know what crad means in German, but this is a super crad. Okay, communication cable now grants the Kettenkrad plus 33% capture and decapture speed, and grants plus 7 vision range to points captured by the Kettenkrad. Holy smokes. Communication cable resource bonus removed. Speed. Oh, okay. So it's reduced, but now the communication cable resource bonus is removed. I kind of like this mechanic, but I could see how that could become kind of abusive. Speed increase from 10.5 to 11.75. So this is what justified them to buff this to the super crad. This thing is still insanely good, man. So strong. Mechanized Battle Group 8 rad. Veterancy ability replaced with the DAC Commander 8 rad ability. Okay, good. Nebelwerfer White Phosphorus rocket count increased from 5 to 6. Interesting. Pioneer. Veterancy requirements reduced. Yeah, the Pioneer needs some love. This thing is not the best. Panther. Tactical Advance replaced with Tank Hunter ability. Tank Hunter is a passive ability that causes target vehicles hit by the Panther to be 25% easier to hit for 8 seconds. The affected unit will also be revealed even in the fog of war for the entire duration. So this is what they were talking about, of trying to add mechanics and abilities in the game that were more impactful and that were more interactive and just like better game design. This is a pretty cool ability, I would say. I like it. I like it more than a tactical advance, I suppose. We'll see. Fits within the Tank Hunter theme at least. Strasstruppen, White Phosphorus grenades now properly deal damage over time. Okay, so they were bugged, unfortunately. Strasstruppen are pretty good. My issue with Strasstruppen is that they come out pretty late. So I know these things absolutely shred infantry, but the Gurkha, for example, is a stronger unit that comes out much earlier and scales much better for that reason. So yeah, it's a great unit. I love this unit. The only way to really get it out in an ideal time is to go for Breakthrough Battle Group and go straight down the left side of the tech tree and get this guy out ASAP. In that case, you're getting really good value. But regardless, it's a fine unit in the late game. It does really well. British forces. All right, so the British are the strongest faction in my opinion right now. So let's go ahead and see what's in store. We have given the British forces a small number of adjustments to address a number of concerns. The changes below should make it easier to deal with British artillery in late game scenarios and reduce how oppressive their vehicle rushes with Crusader AA or Stuart can be against infantry. So yeah, this Crusader AA is obviously the armored battle group. Stuart is obviously from the tier 2 building, which can be, you know, rushed out really quickly and is pretty darn cheap to spam. The Stuart is really strong, especially 1 to 2 Stuarts quickly can really turn the tide of a match. Okay, BL 5.5 howitzer command point cost reduced from 2 or increased from 2 to 3, sorry. Health reduced from 800 to 480. Whoa, that's a big nerf. Manpower cost increased from 320 to 400. So big, pretty good nerf to the howitzer, making it a little bit less efficient in the late game and more counterable. Dingo now gains shared experience. Interesting. CMP truck, Veterancy 1 improved logistic ability now shared between the standard and the medical variant. Okay, Commando's grenade area of effect distance increased from 0.5 to 1. Area of effect distance. Okay, grenade. So, gonna be better. Crusader AA. Area of effect radius reduced from 2.5 to 2. Okay, it's gonna have a smaller radius. Area of effect distance reduced from 0.75 to 0.33. So, considerable nerf to the area of effect of the Crusader AA. Infantry section. Recce package passive vision bonus reduced from 7.5 to 5. That's fair. I think that's fair. 7.5 is quite a bit of range. Vision range. Light vehicle refit and withdraw no longer cost munitions. That's pretty good. That's really good. I think refit was probably an underutilized ability in general already, but hopefully this kind of makes it a more integrated mechanic for British players. It's a really cool ability. There's some pretty creative things you can do with it, and I think this will become more sophisticated playstyles over time as players improve and figure the game out. M3 Stuart. Mark target munition cost increased from 25 to 45. Mark target penetration bonus reduced from plus 50 to plus 25%. That's pretty substantial. Area of effect damage changed from 1 to 0.5, so basically half initially. Area of effect damage distance change reduced from 0.44 to 0.375. Moving scatter increased from 25% to 50%. Max scatter to 3.5. Scatter angle from 7.5 to 5.5. Scatter offset to 0.25 to 0. So Stuart getting some nerfs here, but still viable, I think. British are still going to be in a good position, I think. I don't think this is enough to totally knock the British out. British have so many good options. The Gurkhas are so strong. You know, the British have a strong early to mid game. Not a strong early game, but their mid game really picks up. And then British late game armor is just super good. The Matilda, the Crusader, those tanks are just so efficient for the cost and the timing. The British will be fine. Okay, DAC. So this should be the most interesting one. We are making a number of changes to DAC to address some of the issues they face. These issues include a lack of ready access to infantry-based anti-tank, so that's going to be the Panzerjäger. Units when going from the mechanized company and the early weakness of their Panzer Grenadiers when outside combined arms range. We still want DAC to be a vehicle-based faction that needs to leverage its vehicles to gain an advantage and have made improvements to early units like the 250 half-track to further emphasize to encourage vehicle play. Very interesting. Okay, 250 half-track. Manpower cost reduced from 260 to 250. That's minor. I don't know how much of an impact that will have. Front armor increased from 6 to 7. That's good. Veterancy requirements reduced from 1,200 initially to 600. So, half across the board. So the 250 is going to be able to vet much quicker. That's pretty good. Advanced optics. New upgrade added to the armory. Requires Panzer Command. Cost 250 manpower. Okay, increases the vision range of all vehicles by +5 when moving. When vehicles are stationary, increases vehicle vision by +10. That's pretty good, man. And that's a cool way to incorporate the combined arms vehicle style play as well. You're just going to get that advanced optics for all your units and your front line, your artillery, your pack howitzers. At the very least, this is a very cool change. Advanced repairs. Manpower cost reduced from 200 to 150. Advanced repairs now requires a light support company. Okay. And the previous Panzer Armee requirement is removed. All right. Assault Grenadiers manpower cost reduced from 340 to 300. Damn, that's a really good buff to the Assault Grens, guys. If you haven't been using these, I think these are a really underutilized unit. This is something that Shark actually brought to my attention a while back, and after playtesting them, these are super, super good. Of course, close range, very limited. You only want them on specific scenarios and maps, but this 300 cost is going to make them much more viable. Burstlieri. Call-in ability recharge time increased from 60 to 75 seconds. Wow, so they're going to come out later in the game. Manpower cost reduced from 320 to 80, but they're a lot cheaper. So I think this is worth it. Less tempo, but cheaper. Not the biggest buff to Burstlieri, but it's a good one. I think it's good. Overall. Breda Model 30 light machine guns. Command point requirement cost reduced from 3 to 2. That's a good change. Weapon burst duration increased from 0.75 to 1. No longer grant 1 free LMG to Panzer Grenadiers and Burstlieri squads. Ooh. Alright, that's fine. Combat half-track provides a flat 4 armor bonus to all facings to all affected units. Okay, good. Combined arms. Gives plus 15% speed to all DAC infantry who have combined arms available. Pretty cool. That seems pretty good, man. Panzer Grenadier Vision no longer grants ability range bonus and only provides plus 10% bonus to accuracy. Grants the same bonuses as combined arms used by other infantry. Ooh, Pigran's getting some nice changes. Command Panzer 4, Wehrmacht and Deutsch Command Panzer 4 now both share the ammo swap ability. Okay, and we went through all these changes on the Command Panzer 4, I believe, before, but they're there if you guys want to dig into these specific numbers. I don't have the previous. Oh, okay, here it is. Yeah, so they do provide the previous. So you guys can compare this. But overall, it looks like the Panzer 4 will be getting considerable change buff. Grenade package removed. Panzer Grenadiers now require either fire support elements from their light support company or the mechanized company to be constructed in order to access grenades. This is a bigger buff than you would think. If I'm reading this right, once you tech up, your grenades will unlock. So if I'm reading this right, you no longer have to purchase the 200 cost upgrade. You're going to save a lot of manpower with the DAC being efficient with your P-Grens. So P-Grens are getting some love for sure. Crowd shoots in speed increase from 11.5 to 13. Wow. This thing is going to be even faster. Damn. That's pretty impressive. Not oppressive, but impressive. It's the Super Schutzen. So we got the Super Crowd and the Super Schutzen. Light Support Company now has access to Panzerjäger squads costing 250 manpower. Okay. That's fine. Going back to the Krautschützen, I think this is a good change because the health is so low on this thing. It's so vulnerable that you should be rewarded for clicking out, retreating out, and harassing. You should be able to have the speed to kind of execute your harassment or your reversal. So I like this. I think it's good. Okay, Panzergrens. Grenade range increased from 16 to 20. Really good buff. LMG accuracy increased from 0.363 to 0.396. Rifle accuracy increased from 0.49 to 0.53. Model 24 grenade, anti-tank grenades now requires either fire support elements from the light support company or the mechanized company to be constructed. So P-Grens, they've been getting quite a bit of love here. I think P-Grens are coming into a really ideal state. At least that's what I hope. But from what I can tell, they're becoming a lot more versatile and efficient, just cost efficient. Don't forget, these guys can repair as well. They're just going to have a lot of utility and incentive. Secure location now grants a plus 20% decapture bonus in addition to its capture bonus. Pretty cool. Stug 3D, veterancy requirement reduced from 1500 to 1000. Firing position range bonus increased from plus 15 to plus 20. Pretty good. Notes, currently our veterancy is 1000, 2000, 6000. This will be set to be intended values in our next patch, okay? All right, so battle groups. They mentioned they wanted to change battle groups a little bit for the DAC. So Italian infantry, booby traps, command point requirement from 2 to 1. That's a really good change in my opinion. Booby trap cost reduced from 55 to 45. Traps that detonate a victory point or territory point will increase the time it takes to capture the given point by plus 100% for 20 seconds. Really cool. So incorporating some cool mechanics around the booby trap idea and theme, making them cheaper, more cost efficient, I think is good because these things really weren't used that much, especially when you compare it to like the Guasatori and the other mines and traps you can lay with the DAC. This needs to have more incentive, so I'm happy to see changes to that. Okay, the Cannonet, I don't know how to pronounce that. Command point requirement from 4 to 3. I think that's good. I like that change a lot. Allow you to get that out a little bit quicker to be able to utilize artillery. Designate defensive line. Renamed to sound the alarm. Okay, that's probably going to sound better. Munition cost reduced from 60 to 40. Now also makes squads 20% harder to hit when active in addition to other bonuses. Wow, that's cool. Now plays an alarm effect on activation. Yeah. So this is not only going to sound an alarm, but it's also going to make squads 20% harder to hit. This is so, thematically, this is so cool. To be able to play Italian infantry, a defensive style with your artillery, to be able to designate defensive lines and actually have a really strong defensive line, right? With your units being able to defensively hold the position and have a defender's advantage on a given position is a really cool mechanic in my opinion. Especially if there is an actual sound alerting the other player that you have initiated defensive line, that gives the player the option to pull back and let off. So cool interactive change Very curious to see how strong this is. It could be really strong. Guasatori armor increased from 1.25 to 1.5. That's fine with me. The L640s. Here we go, guys. The L6s. Cost increased from 450 and 30 fuel to 475 and 35 fuel. Wow. Emergency speed now replaces Italian Brotherhood. Increased speed by plus 50% and has plus 25% acceleration while making the unit 25% harder to hit. Disables weapons while active. Health increased from 240 to 280. Now has medium crush. Penetration increased from 16 to 45. Interesting changes. Still, is this viable now? I don't think so. These things are very vulnerable. And they're not cheap. This is kind of expensive, but we'll see. We'll see how that works out. Propaganda War. Now has a delay before the ability activates. Now fires 10 shells over a large area that causes suppression damage. Targets that are pinned will retreat if they are in the blast radius of propaganda shells. No longer cause units to immediately retreat if they are not pinned. Very cool change. Less oppressive, less gimmicky, and way more thematic. Once again, allowing for interactive play. Your units are pinned. And some units are being hit, some units are being pinned. I think it's a cool interaction on both sides. Not just an immediate retreat and you don't even know what happened. You're wondering where your units are, or why they're retreating, or what ability your opponent used. So this is just, I think, a good change overall. We also made some significant changes to the Italian infantry tree, increasing its viability. Okay, so before we had the oh, I see what they did here. They put the L6s on this side. Okay. So they did some swapping here. And now you're choosing between booby trap, defensive line, propaganda war, artillery. Okay, very interesting. I like this. I think this is good. And it's not as like limiting, you know, like if you want to go for field engineering with Italian infantry, if you want more of a unit-based composition over time, right? The Guasatori, the L6s, the Cannonet, artillery, you can go for that. And of course, you're going to have this defensive artillery as well. But on the right-hand side, it's more of an ability, munition-based choice, right? More utility and abilities. So I see how they're separating those two things, kind of changing the flow and pace of the game from more offensive somewhat on the left side, kind of, right? And then it gets defensive as you get to this artillery and this cannonet. And on the right-hand side, it's much more defensive. I know that's not the best way to look at it, but it does say defensive warfare here. This is all about field engineering, fielding units. So I like that change. Pretty cool. I'm very curious to see how this plays out. So not as much mixing between the two. So you are going to be more limited. It's going to be kind of more one-dimensional. The path you take is going to have more limitations, somewhat less options, but I think it's a better flow. Okay, guys, and there's a lot of bug fixes. I'll leave the link to the patch notes in the description below if you guys want to look at specific things that I read out here. But bug fixes with art and animation, gameplay changes, lots of them here, tons of gameplay changes. Okay, so art and animation, change the way the weapon swap animations are played, so they're now layered as upper body animation. Fix a T-pose when units embark into the DAC. Fix hit reaction animation that infantry is dropped to prone from explosions. Fix the problem where squads would lose the player's requested unload destination. Modify the weapon swaps to use an upper body animation layer. Remove the most pivots from infantry to increase infantry responsiveness. There should be no longer more popping before and after throwing a grenade. Entities should now be using the aim animation while rotating to the ability location. That's good. Adjusted the behavior of infantry entering cover while engaged in combat. Infantry will now avoid sliding into cover if they're in the middle of aiming. However, the units will still do the slide into cover animation if they aren't aiming, which might happen depending on a number of factors such as weapon type, range, wind down period, etc. So very cool. I think these animations are just going to make the game look a lot better, more crisp, more fluid, easier to identify what's going on. But if you want to check these out in more detail, go ahead and look at art and animation. Gameplay changes, tons of gameplay changes here, guys. You could read through. But let's go ahead and read through some of them. Anti-air units can now target airplanes outside the playable area. Okay, interesting. Artillery should now fire with a 20-second cooldown that is surfaced through a decorator. It should respect having vision on the enemy unit. Okay, so artillery should now fire with a 20-second cooldown that is surfaced. Interesting. Breach now forces retreat of garrisoned units. Okay, so it's going to force the retreat now. Burst weapons will no longer keep firing if the target ducks behind a shot blocker. Okay, that's fine. Clarified the meaning of resource loss stats with tooltips. This means the resource value of units lost in combat. Fallschirm Pioneers now have access to wire cutters from the start of the game. That's a good change. I'm actually just going to read through all of these. These are very important for us to know. Fixed damage over time. Damage not rewarding Veterancy and kills to the damage originator. Fixed MG redeploying when switching targets. Okay, I think that's a really good change, but it's going to make them even better. Fixed a bug where the Panzerjäger squad was unable to fire anti-tank tear gas round if the remaining squad members didn't have, the 39 equipped. Okay, so if that model was killed or some bugginess happened, they weren't able to actually use that. Interesting. Okay, fixed a bug where it was possible for a unit who was repeatedly given the stop command to completely lose the ability to attack. Okay, fixed a missing UI text string on the salvage crew ability. Fix a tooltip issue with the bishop's direct fire ability. Fix an issue where certain colon units could no longer be deployed due to incorrect population requirements. Fix an issue where certain units could double shot projectiles. Wow. Yeah, I've seen that with the Brumbars and the Shermans. Fix an issue where DAC, shoe mines, and tower mines would not cancel construction if the builder was given another order before construction begun. Fix an issue where flak replacements would not be canceled if the engineer was given a build order or a build other before they reach the construction site. Sorry, guys. My reading ability is getting worse and worse as I get down this page. It's a massive wall of text. Okay, fix an issue where Wehrmacht bombers use the incorrect model during the telemission. Fix an issue where tear gas would disable an indicator over the target. Fix an issue where the Crusader had further sight than intended. Fix an issue where the Hellcat and the M3 75mm mortar carriage first strike Veterancy bonus failed to work correctly. Fix an issue where the Starshooper and Red Frost Brigade would not continue to deal damage. Yeah, we saw that earlier. Fix British forces supply cache and infirm upgrade being able to be built on top of existing supply caches. That's a good change. Fix invalid target requirement text for the White Phosphorus Shell and the Sherman. Fixed M1 AT gun continuing to fire while brace ability was active. Fixed M1 AT gun not firing, brace ability ends. Fixed missing UI requirements for the Captain's Rally to me ability. Yep, I did notice that. Fixed players appearing in the wrong team after a skirmish restart. Yep. Fixed recover wrecked vehicle ability range for recovered vehicles. Fix a programming glitch that caused repeatedly giving the attack move order to prevent a unit from moving. Yes. Good change. Repeatedly giving attack move orders now behaves smoothly. Thank you. Improved weapon range visualization to account for shooter size. The L6 combat group should now probably be 10 population instead of 12. Mortars and HMGs should now have their abilities canceled when pinned. Pathfinding tuning on DAC recovery now matches the US recovery vehicle. Setup HMG teams will no longer become stuck if a given reface ordered in place. Smoke canisters should no longer break functionality on creeping barrage. Team weapons no longer change targets. Okay, when already engaged via an attack move order. The focus next infantry command now cycles through units properly. Oh, nice. I actually use this for vehicles. It's a hotkey you can change. Unit efficiency has been changed to efficiency factor, which is now a ratio like 1.5 rather than 150%. Beyond the meaning of unit efficiency being unclear, there was also errors in calculating efficiency, which have been fixed. Efficiency was displaying a total instead of an average. Additionally, the total damage dealt has been included friendly fire and environmental damage. Interesting. Updated a large number of tooltips. In-game tool display numerical values for bonuses for many upgraded abilities. Updated the VFX on map communication pings for the attack and defend. Look here pings. Yeah, it looks really good. I like those changes. You will now receive a specific message in the left side event queue. If one of your units takes a hit from a sniper, fix Rex staying attached to recovery vehicles when issued move command. All right, guys, so I made it through this massive amount of bug fixes or gameplay fixes. So you guys can go ahead and check those out if you want to see those in more further detail. Performance stability. improvements in detecting cases of file corruption, fixed a rare crash, turning off FSR, it doesn't crash anymore, improved reduced frame per second in a match, fixed crashing, and closing prompts from previous mission. Okay, so overall performance improvements are great. Single player changes, guys, you guys can check these out. I've never played the campaign, I haven't yet. I might in the future, we'll see, but if you want to see what changes to the dynamic Italian campaign and the North African operation, you can check those out here. UI UX changes. Okay, interesting. Building production button now have a toggled state. Okay, finally, that's really good. Something I would like to use more. Change the message on disconnect notifications to add clarification. Fix the crash that can occur when loading saves from Gala. Okay. Fix the bug that caused a dialogue message to get cut off. Fix a typo in the DAC Armored Support Group name. Fix an issue occurring when a newly created North African operation save us the default name of the latest completed mission. Improve the tooltip message when trying to invite offline players to your party. Replace the Q3 desktop icon to support sizes. The battle group panel can now be closed by pressing escape. Oh, nice. Fix an issue where the Night Fighter resource point cosmetic did not state which resource point it affects. Updated the co-op versus AI stats to have the most played faction. Disabled select map and game options button during match start countdown. All right, guys. So we made it through this entire thing. There's a lot to read. I hope it's helpful for you guys who don't necessarily want to read through this. But what are my thoughts overall on the update? Number one, very excited for the new content that we got and features primarily. So the 4v4 map, super excited. I think the rework to Pacino Stalemate is good. I think it's going to be a good rework. I love the new pathfinding changes. We're just improving performance and gameplay. Ping changes are going to be great for communication. Map updates, you guys can check these out in further detail. I didn't go into too much detail on those. The tactical map change is awesome. Once again, I'm a big tactical map user. I think this is going to really help players who like playing with this. Just going to improve the performance and gameplay experience. New cosmetics, that's fine. Okay, but general balance. So this is where things get really interesting. I feel like the standardization is fine as long as it doesn't get too one-dimensional, where everything is too similar. But overall, AA got a considerable buff and has a considerable function and relevance now, which I think is fine as long as air units are not completely hard countered in large team games. Now, going to factions, I think the U.S. forces got hit pretty hard in areas that were unnecessary. So this is minor, the 4x4 truck, but the M8 Greyhound and the Chaffee, they got some serious mid-game nerfs here. And although the USF can hit hard early on with the riflemen, it was, in my opinion, the motor pool that was dominant. So to see the motor pool nerf, it's fine. It's not like the end of the world. The riflemen weren't nerfed too hard. Paratroopers got a little nice change. But really, it's where you get down to the Sherman Easy 8 that I get a little bit worried, because I don't know if USF late game needed a nerf. I don't know if this is too heavy-handed. I'm a little worried. Now, the Air Support Center also got a considerable nerf if you include the cost and the power of AA now. So Air Support Center is going to be nowhere near as viable. Mechanized Support Center feels weaker because of the units being weaker. I really think it's going to be Special Forces Operation Battle Group. I really think this Whizbang is going to shine, especially with its ability to change to Shermans. I don't know if you would want to ever change it to a Sherman, but you do have that option, which is a very interesting ability to be able to pivot and transition to more of an armored composition rather than artillery. After doing a lot of damage, you can just kind of blitzkrieg those Shermans in. Very interesting. I don't know. I feel like USF got hit pretty hard. Wehrmacht got a lot of buffs, I think. The Flak 30, the Stummel, those are fine. I don't know if those will have huge impacts, but they are considerable. Blitzkrieg, the Whirlwind, Jaeger getting a bit of a buff. The Super Crad is still super. Mechanized 8-Rad, yeah. I think, again, not massive changes, but I think Wehrmacht did get a considerable buff. So Axis feeling good. British got nerfs in areas. Overall, this has really been to me, what it feels like is a DAC patch / Axis buff for team games. So yeah, British got a bit of a nerf with the Crusader AA and the Stuart. Their artillery got a little nerf. Their artillery is still probably some of the best in the game, probably the best in the game. When you consider planes being able to be shot down, it really is the off-map artillery columns and the stock artillery from the faction that are going to reign supreme. So British are in a really good spot still, I think. I think they'll be fine. The DAC got the most buffs. DAC are looking really good. You got the Panzerjägers that are now able to be spammed. I don't think you're going to need to ever build more than 3, or 2 of them, rather. 3 seems excessive for the cost. I don't think you need more than 2. I think 2 is probably going to be the sweet spot, and you'll be able to call those in, or rather build those at will, rather than waiting for a call-in. It's cheaper as well. So once again, DAC getting some manpower buffs in terms of like grenades being cheaper, the Jaeger being cheaper, Panzer Grenadiers being more efficient, Bersaires being, manpower costs reduced. So I think really between combined arms, the infantry buffs to assault grens, and Panzerjägers got a really good buff as well. I think DAC's in a really good spot. Some more variety with battle groups. Definitely DAC is going to be in a really, really nice place, I think, relative to the other factions that were nerfed here. So very curious to see how DAC performs. I think Axis is looking pretty good right now. I'm a little worried about Allied early and mid game, but Allies were dominating in the early and mid game. So, and then they were able to transition to a good late game to close it out. So, very curious to see. I'm putting my money on DAC, getting the best changes. Are they still viable for 1v1? I don't know. We'll have to see. But very interesting changes overall, guys. Go ahead and let me know what you think in the comments. This is just my first take. I'm going to have to go through all this and really think about it more to have any definitive opinions. But I would love to hear your guys' opinions. Let me know what you think the state of the meta will be. Give me some predictions. Let me know what you think about your favorite faction or how it's changed, what you think is good or bad in this update. I would love to hear from you guys. If you did enjoy this video, if it was helpful, go ahead and smash the like button, subscribe, leave a comment. It goes a long way in supporting the channel. And I'll see you guys on the next one.